Well, I hope everyone is having a good day. Here in the Midwest, it's going to be 80 degrees. This is probably our last shot at any warm weather. How's it out in your direction, Adrian?
It's gorgeous, and we also have a very warm day, but I'm having a socially distant outside dinner tonight with
Ah,
a work
nice.
person, so the fact that it's warmer is much more pleasant because I tried this last week and it was about 55 degrees. And by the time the food got to our table, the food was cold.
The food was about 60 degrees.
Yeah, yeah. And unless you're only having a salad, it doesn't work very well.
Very true. Very true. Well, tell you what, let's go ahead and get started. It is about 4 or 5 after, so we'll go ahead and get things going. Hi, everyone. You all know me, I believe, Dan Paulson, and I am the owner of Envision Development International. I've been doing this webinar series now for about 2 months and asked my good friend Adrian Miller to come on and talk about sales. So she has agreed to do that, and she's going to share with us the good, the bad, the ugly in sales, which I'm sure there are plenty of examples and stories that she can tell you. So Adrian, I'm going to turn it over to you and take her away.
Thank you so much. As many webinars as I have done in my long career, I have to tell you, it's still so weird for me to present and not be live in front of a group of people. Even the Zoom presentations just don't do it for me. So it's always strange to be sitting here in my own office looking at my screen. But for everybody who's on the call, as you can see, I'm Adrian Miller. I have a sales training and consulting company here in New York, and I've been doing this for a long time. And we're going to go fast. I don't think I am going to be saying things that you're going to go, oh my gosh, I never thought of this. I'm thinking there's some things that you possibly have thought of and maybe are doing regularly, but I bet there are things that we're going to go over today that either you haven't thought of at all, or perhaps you don't do with the consistency that you need to do it. Because for all of us to recognize the kind of success we want to have, we have to deploy our skills consistently. So what we're looking at here is selling more and stressing less. We are in a crazy time. There's so much stress associated with so many parts of our lives that with our business life, as much stress as we can shed, the better. And really what everyone wants, well, at least everyone I'm working with, they want increased sales revenue from their existing customers. We can't forget about existing customers. So many people are always looking for new business, and that's awesome. But what about new business? Different business, growing business from your existing customers who already, we hope, love you, trust you, you've been screened and vetted, and you're a proven entity and a trusted resource for their company. Shouldn't it be easier to get more business from them? I think so. And then we do want more new business from those new prospects that we generate in a variety of ways, whether they come to us through our own demand generation activities, or we are going out there and prospecting in lots of more old-fashioned ways and some of the more newfangled ways as well. We want more new business because even if you are, must have a little caveat to number one here. Even if you're enjoying robust business from your existing clients, even if you keep getting new business from your existing clients, you never know, through no fault of your own, when that existing client might just go away, which, saying in another way, you always have to be filling your sales funnel and have a nice flow of suspects and prospects coming in that you hopefully can nurture to turn into clients. So we're going to go through, I think it's 5 core concepts that can help you develop more business and get more business from your existing clients. Now, I'm in New York City, and that's a typical New York City building. And it's so funny, back in the day when we used to meet in person, and I'd be in a particular restaurant. I was on a 8th floor of a building looking out on a building just like this. We happened to be one of the Rockefeller Center buildings. And people would be talking to me and they go, "Oh, you're such a good networker. You know everyone." And I just would, look to my right, look at that building and go, I don't know a single person in that building. Not a single person, not a single prospect or client. So what makes you different in this very competitive and crowded world that we're in, where our competition could be just as easily around the globe as around the block? And why should anyone care about your points of differentiation? And frankly, the first thing you need to nail in sales is what makes you different. It's an exercise I run with my clients. We start pretty much every quarter with a meeting, and we go over, well, let's go through what makes you different. Things change, some of the competition, you have a point of differentiation. All of a sudden you discover, oops, someone else is doing that now, or one of your points of differentiation is frankly not so popular anymore. It's fallen out of vogue. So we got to be able to nail, you need to own what makes you different, and you have to have points of differentiation that frankly people care about, okay? Which means they equal an improvement in their situation. You can have a point of differentiation that quite frankly no one gives a damn about, and that's not going to help you sell more, get more business from new clients, make you even more valuable to your existing clients. So here are what core improvements are. And these are really simplistic. And we can go on and on and on, and we can parse these out in a million ways. But really, it all boils down to this. Your product or service will help a client save or make money, okay? It will save them time. Okay, I'm not saying you have a product, a financial vehicle that helps them make money, but something you do helps them make money. A fabulous website, your content development for social media. I don't know what it is, okay? But save or make money, save time. And in our very busy lives, saving time is an incredibly powerful improvement that our prospects are looking for. Peace of mind. Oh my God, peace of mind is something in our pandemic environment we are searching for. And a lot of businesses have re-engineered their marketing to talk about the peace of mind their product or service provides in this environment. They've pivoted, not so much with what they're offering, but their messaging because of COVID. Convenience. We all know that maybe you're one of those people that I will pay more because something's convenient. I will stop at the supermarket that's closer to my house on the way home versus the one that's further away, and pay more because they charge more for their products, but it's convenient. Okay, you do a little analysis of what your time and money is worth. Confidence, again, a very, very, very strong driver to have someone do business with you. Status. Many years ago, I did work with Rolex. The Rolex watches, I think, come in stainless steel, but are pretty much well known for their gold versions, and they're gold with diamond encrusted faces, which frankly costs more. I was going to say my first car, I think it costs more than my car now. So that's a status sell. You can't tell me that somebody buys a Rolex because it tells better time. I have a Swatch and it tells great time, and I'm never late. And I have a Swatch and I think it was $67. I think people may buy Rolex because it may increase in value. Maybe it's an investment, but it's also, trust me, I know people who have them, a status sell, and health. Okay, that's also an improvement that a product or service can provide and is a very important thing, particularly at this point in time. So your points of differentiation has to equal an improvement, and a simple little way to figure this out for yourself is make 3 columns and list out all your points of differentiation. Do a real brain dump. Okay, don't edit yourself at first. You're going to edit yourself after, because too many people say things that quite frankly do not resonate. What makes us different is we have great customer service. No, everybody and their mother says that, including the companies who are well known for their absolutely horrid customer service. They say that too. So you have to really get granular, but write everything at first, and then in the middle column, you put these transition statements, what that means to you, or providing you with, or therefore you'll be able to. And then in the last column, you put in the core improvement and benefit statement. And you play with that a little bit, and you'll find you come up with 3, 5, maybe even 10 that really resonate and will be very impactful when you are in fact talking to prospects, talking to networking referral sources, and actually talking to your clients, where you're trying to remind and refresh who you are, what you do, and why you're such a important business resource for them. This is a great line. What makes us different is, okay? That's a very powerful line when someone tells you, hey, we're happy with XYZ, the competition, or we're working with XYZ, the competition. Well, it's important for people to never hear you say that we're better, you should work with us because we're better. The word better makes people antagonistic, aggressive, resistant, every negative response you could ever imagine. But when you say what makes us different, people lean into that. You can massage this a little bit by saying, our clients tell us what makes us different is. That's a great way to do it. Or to say, would you like to know what makes us different? If the person you're talking to, quite frankly, says no, you can move on to your next prospect. You can move on to the next referral source. You can move on because they're not ready to be open and receptive to your messaging. Remember, the power to buy lies in the hand of that prospect. And so there are people that timing, it plays an important part. It's totally inappropriate if they say to you, I'm really not interested, move on. Don't take it personally either. Point number 2, I always try to put these in order of importance, and I get very confused because at the end of the day, I think they're all really important. And if you mess up on any of them, you'll compromise your results. So take it with a grain of salt when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I think they're all number 1. And so the next one is staying on the grid. Introduction, invitations, information. Now, we meet lots of people, even in this Zoom age. You're involved with networking things. You're going to Zoom meetings. You're going to Zoom business conferences. We meet a lot of people. You have a lot of people in your database. You have referral sources. You have previous clients, dormant accounts. You've got existing clients. And how do you stay on the grid? If you do a ton of networking, even a little networking, you know that it is a long game. It's a rare time that somebody immediately has somebody to introduce you to. It takes time. It takes nurturing. I used to run a program called Woo, Win, and Wow. And I kind of think it works very well, but in the wooing stage, you have to stay visible. You can't do it in a way where you're just constantly in their face, checking in and trying to touch base, those cliches. You need to think about adding value to the relationship before there's a relationship, and here's how you do it. The first one is introductions. How cool is it to get an introduction? That happens to be a picture of a networking meeting I was running back in the day when we sat in a conference room. These same people are on Zoom calls. And making introductions for your networking contacts, your referral sources, your clients, your prospects, your dormant accounts, are very important. And it's easy to do because you have a database that's filled with people. And why not put people together proactively? You're not really networking if you are waiting for someone to say, hey, do you know, fill in the blank. It's networking when you are talking to someone, and as you're talking to them, you're realizing, wow, this person works with the same type of client as this other person I know, and it's the same size company, and they don't do the same work. Wow, maybe they can introduce maybe I should introduce them, and then they in turn can introduce each other to clients or referral sources. You're making an introduction. It's like if you were in the dating world, you introduced two people to go out on a date, and I mean, they liked each other, they didn't like each other. You didn't swear to them that they were going to go off and get married for 50 years or anything like that. You're putting two people together. The ball is in their court. But the main thing to remember is you make those introductions based on certain business synergies that you see. So that's the first one. Easy to do. Make your own game plan. Try to do 5 introductions a day, a week, a month, whatever volume of time works for you. But put it in your in your calendar, or however you block your time. Make sure you do it. It's a very easy thing to forget to do. And in fact, you then fall off the grid of those referral sources and of those prospects and of those dormant accounts. The second is invitations. Maybe even more simple, because we're all being invited to things all the time. And we're invited now on Zoom, so it doesn't even matter if you're connecting on invitations, because the person could be anywhere. So when you get an invitation to a webinar, a Zoom meeting, a networking thing, a conference, or anything else, and it's one of those that the person running it would love you to share that invite, share that information. So for me, I love to be able to do that, because I really think I'm helping the person who's running the event, but I also am helping myself. And I honestly believe I'm helping the person I'm sending it to, because I'm not sending them invitations for things that are quite frankly crappy. I'm sending them invitations to things that have value. If they choose to go or not, that's up to them. But it's a way for my name to get into their computer and to get into their mind without saying, hi, it's Adrian, I'm just touching base. Lastly is information. So I use all of these, and I love them all. I love introducing people. In invitations, I feel really wonderful when I can share events with people, because I usually know the person who's running it, and it makes me feel good. But information is awesome, because while I'm sharing the information, I feel I'm learning as well. So I share TED Talks, and I share links to articles that I'll find in business publications. Sometimes I have to go out and proactively look for it. I have a lot of things in Google Alerts, so I am pretty much fed information. But you can find anything on the internet. And so if you want to stay front and center with a group of prospects, referral sources, any of the categories I mentioned before, you can go to TED and you can type in a couple of keywords and find a TED Talk of general business interest. Or you can use something that's more topical. a business book perhaps that was released. That's very general. If you're talking about a specific referral source in a business, you can in fact do a search based on the business and the type of clients they have. Whatever you do, information is out there at your fingertips. It takes a couple of keystrokes and a couple of minutes of your time. You can use the same piece of information and you could send it out if it is of general interest. And with these introductions, invitations, and information, you can maintain a share of someone's brain and be visible and recognizable if and when a potential business opportunity comes to light. Otherwise, you're running around networking, shaking the proverbial virtual hand, out of sight, out of mind. We all knew too many people, and why bother doing it if nothing's going to come from it? I don't know about you, but I have lots of things to do with my time, and it would not be really in my best interest to do it that way. So you have to stay visible and you have to add value to the relationship before there's a relationship. So here's what you shouldn't do when you're trying to stay on the grid. You shouldn't say, I'm touching base, or I'm checking in. You could do it once or twice. If you do that more than that, they're going to stop reading your emails and they're going to stop taking your calls. Don't have nothing to say and start talking about the weather. And, we've almost passed now the COVID conversation. Of course, you can ask how people are and hope they're healthy and all that stuff. But that whole March and April where we took a deep dive into the news and health has passed. We've been doing this for a lot of months now. Don't waste their time. That is, waste their time having nothing to say or having nothing of value to them, and don't stalk them. Okay, make sure that there's a reason, a benefit for you to be communicating with them. What you should do: add value on every touch point. Be viewed as a thought leader and a knowledge provider. There are people who call me, and I definitely want to hear from them, because when I pick up the phone, I kind of know there's something that's going to be interesting, important, relevant, that's going to come from them. Mix it up and connect in various ways. LinkedIn is a great place to send a direct message. Certainly phone calls. People hate the phone. I keep putting in posts, pick up the phone. Email, of course. Text, if you've got a segment of your group that I have a lot of people who like to get their information via text. Be persistent, and you must create a win-win for the client or the prospect or the referral source and you. It has to be a win-win for everyone. People get hit upon, as they'll say, so often, but if you're adding value, you will stand apart from everyone else who is trying to win them over. So number 3, obstacles. Oh my gosh. There isn't a salesperson, business owner in the world, that's a very bold statement, a big statement for me, that has not experienced some sort of resistance or pushback. The pushback can be overt and in your face, and it can be spoken, no, I'm not interested because, or all that kind of stuff. It can be passive. And for anyone who's ever been, quote, ghosted, okay, people send out proposals and then they're ghosted. We have a whole, I'll go through that a little bit later, because there's a whole reason when you're sending out a proposal, things you should do so that that doesn't happen. But it does, even sometimes when you do these things. But how do you overcome obstacles? How do you get through when people say, I don't need it, I don't want it, I have no money, I have no budget, we're all set, we're happy with what we currently have, and what we're currently doing. There's loads of others. There's my cousin, brother, uncle does what you do. I'm not the right person to talk to. That's terrible. You should have actually found that out first. We're moving, we're going out of business, we're all sorts of things. These are very common resistance points. Oh, just send me something. Do you have a brochure? Or I'll go to your website and I'll reach back out to you. Not now, maybe later. The horrible stall that's like, what are you talking about? Not now, maybe later. And the worst response, I actually recorded a video on this morning. Someone says, not now, maybe later. And you go, okay, I'll call you next month. Really? What's different next month? What have you learned to call next month? You have to really hang in there, and you've got to overcome your objections, with these 3 words, or kind of a formula. I understand exactly how you feel. I'm not married to these words, by the way. You could say, I've worked with companies that have had a very casual kind of sales approach, and they say, I hear ya, or something like that. But what you're getting to is, I understand how you feel. You're also, when you get an obstacle in a conversation, when you get an obstacle thrown out to you when you're doing a presentation, whether this is on the phone or in a conference room speaking in front of a lot of people, you need to slow down the process right there, because they're pushing you away, and you need to soften the environment. So I understand how you feel calms them down. We certainly have clients and other prospects that felt exactly the way you feel right now. What they found is, and there's your glory moment. There's your glory moment, because that's where you get to resell your core improvements. You get to resell against their obstacle, their resistance point. And you've lengthened and strengthened the conversation so that now it can keep going, because hopefully you have actually successfully overcome it. Now, at the end of that resell point, the best thing for you to do, the very best, and frankly, the only thing for you to do, is to control the path of the conversation. Think if you're driving in a car, you've gotten to the end. Now what you want to do for this part of your objection response is to control it with a question. Okay, you want to open the door again. The visual is they're trying to close the door. You're very gently pushing it back open, and then you really open it up when at the end of what they found is, and you ask them, hopefully, an open-ended question. Okay, it's a very, very, very important part of the sales process. I refer to it as a critical moment, because at this moment in time, it can go one or two ways. They will want to continue having this dialogue with you, or they will be stronger than you, and they will push you away and close the door. Now, doesn't mean the door will stay closed forever. It doesn't mean that it can't be opened at some date and time. But I like to think that I want to get everything I can off of that conversation, and not have to wait for another month or 2 months, or no matter how. I don't want to wait at all. I've got you on the phone, I've got you in the conference room, and I want to maximize the opportunity. I suggest, just like the benefits, core improvements, what makes you different chart, that you also find the time to write out what are the top 10 objections you get, and really come up with some very strong responses, because sometimes no one likes resistance, and sometimes when people get pushback, oh my gosh, they run for the hills. They really do. And that's when things like, okay, how about if I call you in a couple of months? Is it okay if I follow up? And of course, the other person, 99% of the time, says, okay, because they're counting on you losing them in your CRM, or forgetting to call you back, or realizing that nothing good is going to come of it. And so they're off. They're, quote, off the hook. So that's obstacles. Probing for needs or wants. If you ask the right questions, people will tell you what they need, when they need it, why they need it, how much they'll pay for it, if they're looking at somebody else to do it other than you. I feel that there are a lot of salespeople, particularly ones who are non-traditional salespeople, meaning that's not that you don't see salesperson on their job. They don't have business development rep on their card. They may be the owner of a company. They may be a solopreneur. They may be considered in the service department. I have sales engineers at a client. They're really engineers. We put sales in front of them because they talk to clients, but they really are not a salesperson. My husband's an architect. Trust me, sales is not in his lexicon at all, yet he has to bring in business. So probing for needs and wants, and non-traditional salespeople, novice salespeople, and even some experienced salespeople get a little nervous about asking questions. So here's my motto. You can't lose what you don't have. And you certainly can't lose because you asked a question. I mean, how alienating is your question going to be? But assuming you're doing it in the spirit of the interaction, that it's not coming out of left field, that you've established some nice rapport with the person, you absolutely can ask questions. You've earned the right to ask questions if you've presented your product and service and have communicated value. Questions will clarify the sales situation. Okay. There's some shady areas, gray areas, and a lot of times you need to help make things more black and white, even for you to know what products or services to be offering, even for you to know what price point they fall into. It's clarifying the sales situation. It provides valuable information. I love asking questions. I think some of the questions that I wind up asking fall out of that regular quote unquote sales conversation, and I wind up finding out so many things that I can utilize as I go on and develop a relationship with this individual and this company. Qualify the opportunity. Maybe that should be first. Because if you sell a product or service that very much needs to have a certain type of company, a budget, a technology environment, I don't know, and you have to qualify it, because if you don't qualify it and you go on and on and on, and maybe you have a very conversational person and they want to talk to you, you may find out at some point, it's like, oh, I can't even sell this to you. You know, you're not like qualified. You don't say that word, of course, but a long time ago, I worked for American Express, and they had an income qualification for one of their credit cards, and we pretty much had to scope that out at the beginning of the conversation. We really did, and it was to everyone's best interest. The prospective customer doesn't want to have their time wasted either, for sure. So we did it, and we didn't make enemies. It lays the the foundation. I was just going to say groundwork because I'm not reading this. I'm not even looking at it. Lays the foundation for closing. You ask questions, you build your knowledge, you gather the salient facts and information you need to have to earn the right to try to close and get the business. Once again, remember, no one has ever backed off because a salesperson asked them meaningful and relevant questions in a polite, respectful manner and based on the prospective client's request for the amount of time they have to have the conversation. So that is another critical aspect of a sales conversation. And just like I'd say, write out your most frequent 10 objections and what you would say to them. I think everyone should have a list of 20, 30 questions, because you're not going to ask them all at the same time. You're not interrogating them in a police station. But over the course of nurturing this prospect or referral source, the amount of information that you can gather is wonderful and helpful. But you should know what you want to find out. And certainly you're strategic because you want to find out certain questions. You don't want to ask your first question to be something that is threatening or something that's highly personal. And they're just uncomfortable answering, okay? So you want to start with a question that helps them to lean in, but you also want to then move quickly to a question that will provide you some of that very important information. And know that you don't ask more than 2 or 3 questions without having some conversation and engaging in dialogue. It's not a monologue, it's a dialogue. So effective networking. A lot of people network. It's just something that, you know, on any given day, there is a networking meeting or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, and everyone holds themselves out to be really involved in networking, and they go to networking meetings, and some people say they're really good networkers. And I'm going to say there's 3 qualities for good networkers, and the first one is being proactive. And I think you need to evaluate your own proactivity. How many of those proactive connections and introductions do you make, but without someone asking you for an introduction or asking you, you know, can you connect me to? That's nice if you can do it. You know, if someone says to me, hey, Adrian, do you have a web designer you can recommend? And I go, yeah, I absolutely do. And I connect them with someone. That was great. I'm glad I was able to do that. Doesn't make me a proactive networker. I didn't really do anything other than someone asked me something and I put 2 people together. Proactive is where you put people together though they didn't ask you. Proactive is because you see certain synergies. I do believe in quantifying it. I for someone who's really not a very strong numbers person, I do quantify a lot, and that's one of the things I quantify. You know, you can also make business introductions because of a personal similarity. I, many years ago, was working with a mid-size law firm and a mid-size accounting firm. And I was doing some work with the managing partners of both firms. And through my dealings with them, I found out that both of them were very avid wine collectors. Spent a lot of money on their collection. And I put them together on the basis of their wine collection. Okay. Now, of course, I know that CPAs and lawyers often network very, very well together. and look to each other, often for introductions, but that wasn't my initial intro rationale. Turns out, in fact, they did bond significantly on their wine collection, but they also, of course, wound up doing a tremendous amount of business together. So first thing's proactive. Second thing, persistent. So my cliche, you can't lose what you don't have. You really can't. You don't have anything, you know, just go out there and do it. You don't have anything to lose. What the heck? This is, as I said, is a long game. Referral sources, networking contacts can take months or years and years. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. It can't be just happen. Well, I shouldn't say it can't. It can just happen, and that's considered luck. But we can't build a business. We can grow. We can't be as profitable as we probably want to be with a strategy of luck. All right. So are you staying in contact? Are you adding value through the months and through the years? Okay. And if you're doing that, your persistence is going to be very, very well received. By the way, one of the things I'll say, if I have a prospect and I'm calling them and I have not been able to get through, and I'm still calling because I know something, gotten some business intelligence, marketing intelligence that's told me they have a need for my services, I will often on my calls pepper it at the beginning with, I hope you can appreciate my persistence. It's a really powerful word. Persistence is a positive quality, and you should be very comfortable using it. Persuasive, okay? Persuasive in your network. And these things are true for networking for sure. Absolutely true for sales. Set personal objectives and goals. I said I'm not a numbers person, but I have personal productivity objectives and certainly revenue objectives. I mean, revenue objectives are driven a lot by, you know, my bank who wants their mortgage payment and all the rest of that stuff. So personal objectives and goals, okay? Get rid of head trash. I think yesterday I had as part of a mastermind, I guess, and one of the women, her big challenge was pricing, and that's a big challenge for a lot of companies. And you work through what you feel is the you know how you price. And it turned out when we talked more, her whole problem with pricing existed in her head. Really did, and a real lack of self-confidence about her self-worth. So try to get rid of that. Coaches can usually help tremendously with clearing out that head trash, and because you can't be persuasive and persistent if you have that going on. Measure your progress daily. You can do it weekly. It never should be monthly, because you should be looking at each month. You know, we're almost in fourth quarter. You know, month is down. You want to make certain numbers at the end of the quarter. And like, you know, if you're not measuring on a more frequent basis, before you know it, month one of the quarter is gone. You're kind of screwed. You got to work really hard in the next months, and you may not be able to make up for it. Re-engineer if need be. Re-engineer your networking strategies, re-engineer your sales strategies. Don't ever get so stubborn that you are not open to pivoting in some way, shape, or form. A caveat, don't make changes before you haven't let enough time go by that you can feel comfortable with the need to make a change. Just because you haven't gotten a brand new client this week because you put out 4 social media posts doesn't mean your social media posts sucked. Okay, just be patient. A lot of this takes time. Continue to measure and evaluate. Don't let that go away for anything. Don't settle for anything less than excellence. We have to hold our own bars very, very, very high. Head trash, as I'm saying it in another way, don't allow negativity to get in your way of progress. There is always going to be something that is a problem. We were thrown a real curveball in March. At least we found out about it in March. But there's always something. There's always something. It's a good day. It's a bad day. It's a good economy. It's a bad economy. It's Christmas. It's tax season. I can't talk to anybody. You know, holidays. No one wants. Oh, it's summer vacation. It's Easter and everybody's home or taking a vacation with the kids. There is always something. Don't fall victim to it. And I'm a big celebrator. I have here, celebrate your successes. I like to have good things going on. So I don't care if we're not actually, hey, let's all meet at the bar, but I know Dan does virtual happy hours. Celebrate your successes. Go online and buy yourself something, have a glass of wine, take an extra half hour off, take a half a day off, do whatever it is that can celebrate the fact that you have successfully accomplished what you set out to do with your sales and your business development. And lastly, really no BS. I am a totally just do it person. You got to make, in sales and business development, one or all or many of these things have to be deployed consistently. You have to set a game plan, but you have to make phone calls. I'm not necessarily saying you have to cold call. Some people you can't cold call, but so that's the point where how often are you making substantive calls to your clients, not your top 10 clients, but maybe those clients who are giving you very little work. And is the reason they're giving you very little work because they don't know about all the other things you offer? Or they know, but they're giving that work to somebody else because somehow one of your competitors scooped in there and got some of the business you should have. So make the calls, send the emails, network, all of this on a regular basis. Create content. Content's very powerful these days. Social media should play a big part in your marketing endeavors. If you can't create the content yourself, you either have no time, have no interest, you have no skills to do that. You're awesome at fill in the blank, but you're not a writer. There's so many options in that area to have people create the content for you, to repurpose other content. There are a lot of things you can do in that, but it's important to have content. Do speeches, as many as you can get. Associations are looking for speakers. There are webinars, set up your own webinar program, etc. Stay current. Don't get caught behind the 8 ball with one of your competitors doing something that you thought you were the only game in town. So stay current on what's going on in the marketplace. Stay current on what's going on in your industry. Be proactive. I'm proactive by nature. I'm very impatient, and it would never work for me to be reactive in situations. And I'm too proactive sometimes. I shoot from the hip sometimes. But you know what? Maybe I'm just giving myself a free pass, but I believe that's better than people who are just waiting, and then ultimately they don't do anything. And cultivate your referral sources. One really good referral source, 2, 3, 5 really good referral sources are worth their weight in gold because they can potentially introduce you to so many other people, whether the people they introduce you to are potential clients or either other referral sources. Your world, your business world will expand greatly because of a really good referral source. Remember, the cultivation, however, must include reciprocity. Okay? It really must, because at a certain point, your referral source is going to wonder how come nothing ever comes back to them. And lastly, there I am. So I have this little program. It's an offer for people on the call today. It's called paymewhatyouwant.com. I've had it for, I don't know, at least 5 years, and I've run it sporadically over the 5 years. Usually I don't know, not so much during slow times. It's more been when I felt like it, um, and I've been doing it during the COVID pandemic. And what it is, 1 hour. It's completely customized. It's personal. It's sales consulting, strategy, lead generation tactics. Anything you want, as long as it's about sales, business development, networking, um, content, marketing, that world. I'm not anyone you want to talk to about finance, operations, productivity, or anything like that. Production, productivity, sure. Production, no. And pay me what you want, which means we're not talking about price. I'm not giving you an invoice. We're not. People ask me, well, what should I pay you? And I say, I don't know. Pay me what you want. That's what it's called. And I'm not gonna have any thoughts about it. It happened. You don't even have to tell me. You can pay me, or maybe you're not going to pay me. If you saw you had no value, hey, that's I'm sorry. I really apologize. It has not happened, but if it did, I'd really want to know that and have to think about our conversation and realize what I didn't do right. So that's my offer, paymewhatyouvant.com. And I think, Dan, we have a couple of minutes for questions. Am I right?
Yes, we do. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Here is a question for you, Adrian. How about LinkedIn? How do LinkedIn and sales work together?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is a very interesting social media platform, and there's you could be on LinkedIn for free. You could be on LinkedIn for premium, which is what I have, and you can be on LinkedIn for Sales Navigator. I can't talk to Sales Navigator that much because I'm not a LinkedIn consultant and I never used it, but I use premium. And I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I post a lot and I comment a lot, and I've got a lot of contacts. And I have gotten a couple of inquiries, really substantial inquiries that, I didn't proactively get. Interesting question. Fourth quarter, it was actually, I set 3 goals last night, public goals. That next week I'm going to be asked, what did I do to start furthering the goals? And one of them was to start to do very strategic reach out on LinkedIn. Soft outreach, hard selling. I don't think anyone should be hard selling on any social media platform. I really don't. I think it's looked at very, very poorly. And I know when I get one of those hard sell outreach messages, I'm kind of turned off. Even if the person has got tremendous credentials, I'm still turned off. So I'm going to try some very soft outreach. I think LinkedIn is absolutely a platform that you must be on, and play around with it a little bit. Start to put out content and get views and get some engagement. And from the views and engagement, you should be able to start to see some beginnings of business opportunity. Again, it's a long game. People go onto LinkedIn and think that in the next week they're going to have new clients. And I know Dan's on LinkedIn, and and I think you'll agree, it's a long game.
That it is.
Yeah. So.
Any other questions? If you do, you've got a few minutes left to ask them. I'm going to do just kind of some wrap-up housekeeping here. So first of all, I want to thank our local sponsor, Mount Horbury Chamber of Commerce. They've been very helpful in broadcasting these webinars and letting people know about them. So thank you very much. We also have one more coming up this round, and then we're going to start wrapping things up for the year because everyone's getting busy towards the holiday season here and getting ready for next year. But I do have some exciting things that we will announce. We're going to do a bigger program at the first part of 2021, and hopefully Adrian will be part of that as well. But our next guest coming up is Kim Liebers, and she's going to talk about branding. So how do you keep people talking about you? And that will be the next one that you will get to hear about. And I am Just give me a second here. I'm putting the comments up in, or the link for registration is now posted up in the chat. So if you could click on that, I think that will be very helpful. It kind of ties into everything that we've been talking about over the past several weeks, and is just another, again, great resource for you to learn about how you keep yourself relevant in these times. Adrian, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to put this all together. And I want to thank
you.
everyone for attending. This will be, or this has been recorded, and give me a couple days to edit it down, and we will post it on YouTube. So for those of you who want to review this, great. It's going to be out there. If somebody wasn't able to attend, or you want to share it with somebody, you'll be able to do that as well. Again, thank you all for your time, and have a great Wednesday afternoon.